Okay, so you can turn to page 12. Today we are going to do the lesson Last Days of the Buddha. Okay. So in the whole chapter, it starts by talking about the Vajjayans and the 7 factors of welfare, Sapta Aparihani Dhamma, right? So Satta is 7, Aparihani means haniyak novenna, right? If you practice things like this, these 7 things, you can preserve a state and protect it from destruction. So that's the whole idea. So the Vajjayans, on the advice of the Buddha, were practicing 7 things. What were these 7 things that helped them to maintain a united state, and that unity prevented them from getting invaded by others. So one king who was keen to invade them was King Ajatasattu, right? So I think he tried to invade, or maybe he was planning or so. Anyway, he couldn't, or he was told that you can't invade the Vajjayans. They are very united, and that unity is making them very powerful. So he went and asked the Buddha, what is it that is protecting the Vajjayans? What is it that is making their state so special and protected? And the Buddha said, they are following my advice. If any ruler follows these 7 advices, they can make sure they will rule very successfully. The people will be happy, people will feel safe, and the rulers can be happy. So what are these 7 things? The first one was they met frequently for matters of state, right? So any leadership team, you think of any, like you all are prefects, right? So the same rules apply to you all. So frequently meeting and discussing matters concerning you all is a fundamental thing for any leadership group to be successful. Okay. Met frequently for matters of state. Now, if you remember, during that whole Easter attack, there was supposed to be in the state sector, there was supposed to be some security meeting that was supposed to happen very regularly with the president and the prime minister and the heads of military and so on and so forth. And one thing that came out during that time was that that meeting didn't happen regularly, right? So state matters needs to be discussed regularly, especially things like security, right? National security. So this is the first point, met frequently for matters of state. Second, when they met in unity, they performed their duties in unity, and when they left or dispersed, they left with unity. So it doesn't mean that they didn't argue, they didn't fight, they didn't have disagreements. Of course, they would have had. If you take a group of people, any group of people, everybody will not agree on one thing. People will have different points of views, right? But how do you make sure unity prevails? Unity prevails when you are clear about why you came together in the first place. Take you all as prefects, for example. Why you came together in the first place was to serve the Dhamma school, to support the teachers in serving the Dhamma school, and to help your brothers and sisters in attending Dhamma school in a, in a disciplined and an organized manner, right? So as long as you are clear on those reasons, whenever you have some argument or disagreement, you can consider it against the objective why you got formed in the first place, right? And say like, look, this is why we are here. We are here first and foremost for the benefit of the Dhamma school. Secondly, to support the teachers. thirdly, to support our fellow brothers and sisters. So when you are clear of those three, any dispute you can resolve saying, if we do X, Y, or Z, how are we serving these three objectives? So through that. So unity usually comes when you are clear of the purpose, right? So for any leadership team, it's very, very important to be clear of the purpose. So now, Isini, for example, you are the head prefect in your school, right? So this is something you need to think when there is some dispute amongst the prefects. Always ask yourself, why is the school having prefects? What is the reason? Have that clarity in your mind, right? And be sure you know where your loyalty should be first. Yeah, so the benefit to the Dhamma school should come first and foremost, over and above everything else. Benefit for you as a person cannot be part of any consideration, right? Because prefects are here to serve the Dhamma school, to help the teachers and help the fellow brothers and sisters. So nothing about you as a person. Okay. The benefit you are going to get is an outcome of you learn leadership, you learn confidence, your personality improves, your ability to make decisions, right? You will learn things that is not there in any curriculum, because leadership is not there in a curriculum at school or in Dhamma school. You learn it by doing. Yeah. So your benefits are great, but those are outcomes. Those are not why you those are not why the whole prefects are here today, right? You are here for a purpose, to serve. Of course, those benefits are there, they are given, and we as teachers will make sure that you get those benefits. Yeah? So when you say they met in unity, performed their duties in unity, dispersed in unity, that is what they mean. It doesn't mean that they didn't fight, they didn't disagree, they didn't have arguments. In fact, one sign of a good team is to have arguments, is to have disagreements. Because if a team is very quiet and the leader is saying something and others are just listening, that is not sign of a good team. In a good team, there should be active debate, right? Active contribution. Contribution can be in terms of, yes, I agree, let's do this for these reasons. No, I don't agree. I don't think this is aligned with our overall purpose. So points of views need to be brought up, need to be discussed, right? That is the only way we learn and grow. So if you see a team where the leader speaks and everybody else are just listening like robots, there's something wrong with that team. If you see a team where the leader is speaking and others are speaking and everybody's, having a point of view and all, that is a very good meeting, right? It's a very good meeting, because that means people are not afraid to share their opinions. It means their opinions matter. That is why they're sharing it. Why would people be silent? Because nobody cares what they think. When you realize that nobody cares what you think, you don't talk. Okay. But when you realize that your opinion matters, then people talk. Okay. So always remember. And then sometimes some of the deep thinkers are usually quiet. Some of the chatterboxers are always, you can hear them, right? So if you see, these are leadership things you need to think about. So if you see in a group or in a team meeting, there are some people, they're always quiet. You need to ask them, what do you think? I'd like to hear what you think. Ask them, invite them to share their opinion. Okay, so sometimes some people, they have really good ideas, but they don't come forward and share. So then you must invite them to share, because their ideas are very, very useful. Anyway, in a group, every person counts. Hearing what everyone has to say is important. Okay, so when I work And if I have a team of 6 or 8 or 10, for important things, I make sure I hear everybody's thoughts before making the final decision. All right. So when this thing, it says met together in unity, perform duties in unity, dispersed in unity, it tells me that their views were valued, they would have debated. And once they had debated, once everybody's views are out, then you need to come to a consensus, right? That is what unity is all about. Once you have said your view, then we need to come to a consensus. Now, when we can't come to a consensus, that is when the leader matters. The leader has to make a call. That is the biggest responsibility a leader has. The leader has to make that call. And once a decision is being made, now ideally it's good if we can make the decision with consensus where everybody agrees. There are times when everybody do not agree, but still a decision has to be made. So then the leader will weigh the pros and the cons, will carefully consider and make the decision. Now, the thing is this, once a decision is made, we go with it. Because there's a time to debate and there's a time for action. Okay? Because otherwise what will happen? Debate, 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 no action. Right? So it is important to do both. When it is time to debate, everyone's views matters. Everyone should say why they are either in support of a certain proposal or they are opposing a certain proposal. So for example, we had a small debate about this Aurudu thing. Should children come in the Aurudu attire or not? Right? We teachers had a chat. What happened to the videos? Everybody come back, please. I may be talking to your living room wall. Okay, thank you, Nisali. Your cat may be listening. Thank you, Malisha. All right. I need to see Dinuli. So anyway, coming back. So about the Aurudu attire. So we had a debate. So one concern with Aurudu attire was එක එක කෝලං කරනෝනේ ළමයි. All right. එක එක කෝලං විදියට ඇඳන් ඒ පන්සලට ගැලපෙන්නේ නැති. That is a fair point. Then what was said in favor of it was that when Hamuduro was there, Hamuduro always encouraged children to come in Aurudu attire, right? Because Aurudu comes once a year, and we usually do the Aurudu celebration when the third term starts, and that is usually quite past the Aurudu, it doesn't matter, but the whole Aurudu celebration is meaningful and impactful, and you feel it when the attire piece is also there, right? And kids have fun. And I still remember Hamdur always looks at the children and say during the morning puja, today everybody is looking beautiful. I'm happy to see you like this, right? So then what we thought was, remember I always used to say, like the Buddha is a role model, when in doubt think WWTBD. What would the Buddha do? Similarly in Dhamma school things, when in doubt we always think, what would Dhammakusala Thero advise us, right? And in the last so many years, he always said, let the children come in out of the attire. So what we decided was not only the children, we'll also come in out of the attire. Okay? So when we, as a team, it's important to hear views. It's important to respect tradition. So this was something we have always done, right? And sometimes tradition serves to keep certain things in a certain way, right? Innovation can happen within the tradition. All right. So one innovation is now Kiri Uttaruwanna, you can do the whole dara and the traditional way, right? Takaramak uda, gadol tiyala, dara dara, hemat puluwan. Or another way to think is අවුරුදු පුරාම මම උයන්නේ gas cooker එකේ. ඉතින් ඒ සුබ නැකතින් මම gas cooker එක on. That's also a way of looking. That is innovating a tradition. Right? The tradition is still there, but you are using what you anyway use. So I am personally cool with both. But I think in families with kids like you all, it's fun, right? To make a gadol and the dara and all. I think that's really cool and fun because we don't do that now. It's a fun thing to do. All right. So anyway, so that's the second one. So then Puta, while we are learning, study this as well, right? Because June 25th is not far away. Rather than spend time again studying, on the go, you study. So the first one was met frequently for matters of state. Second one was they met in unity, performed duties in unity, and dispersed in unity. Third one was they did not enact laws which were not enacted earlier. They did not repeal already enacted laws, and they observed ancient Vajjian principles. Okay. When I saw the third one, what I remembered was the US government constitution. So that is one constitution that never changes. Whatever that was there 200 years ago is still there, right? Whereas if you notice in our country, our constitution changes and there is reasonable, what do you say, skepticism, whether it is changing for various agendas, right? So one good thing about something not changing is it becomes very easy then, you know. This is how we do things around. Yeah. So the Vajjian certainly, that was what the Buddha had advised them. Whatever the laws, continue with them. There is no need to bring new laws or no need to change old laws. Just observe the ancient principles, right? So if you think of other countries where constitutions don't change, look, I mean, it's not as simple as I say, right? There are reasons why a constitution needs to change, right? But if we look at our country, probably we are changing it too much, right? And there are certainly some countries that they stick with it, and then that might be a good thing. So, because the moment you allow rules to be changed, people have the space to manipulate them. That is why this advice of don't change the rules, right? Because think of it like this. If you are the person calling the shots, right? It will be quite human to change rules to suit you. And then the next person comes, they change the rules to choose them. So 100 years down the line, the rules will look really absurd, right? So that probably that is the place from which this is coming from. Do not enact laws not enacted earlier. Do not repeal already enacted laws. Observe ancient Vajjian principles. The fourth one was supported, respected, and honored their elders and listened to their advice. Now, this is something beautiful because I'm not saying this because now I'm an elder. I'm saying this because around the age of 20s, I think past 16, because until then I was always a rebel. I always felt my parents, especially my mom, what she was saying was annoying, right? I suppose it sounds annoying when you are a teenager, when you're like 13, 14, 15. But after the age of 16, 17, the same things that my mother was telling me made a lot of sense. Why did it make sense? Because by the time I'm 16, 17, now I'm maturing. I can now understand why my mom is saying these things. I can see it is for my protection. It is out of love for me. And when I could see why she's saying these things, and when I could understand the context, then I appreciated and trusted her on that. Now, when I was 12 or 13, I wasn't mature enough to see that. And therefore, the stuff she was saying seemed annoying, seemed nagging, right? And in my early 20s, I actually looked forward to her advice. And whenever I thought it's good to have another opinion, I went looking for her advice. Same with my father, right? And when you get into your middle 20s or late 20s, you enjoy actually asking elders for your advice. Because you have then come to realize that they have lived life, they have experiences, and we don't need to learn everything from scratch. We can learn from their experiences, right? So for example, I'll give small examples. My father used to tell me and my brother when we were like your age, Puta, no matter how difficult financially you might be, or no matter how good the reason is, never, what do you say, උගස් කරනවාට කියන්නේ මොකද pawning your own house, the house you are living, never put it on mortgage. Never put it on mortgage. So what is a mortgage? Let's say you want a loan. You want a loan for a business, or you want a loan to buy a car or another house. I don't know why you need a loan, but for whatever the reason, let's say you want a loan. So when you want a loan, you have to keep something in place of it so that if you can't pay the loan, the bank can recover the loan by selling whatever you placed in place. It's called a mortgage. So my dad used to say, never mortgage the house that you are living in under any circumstances, right? So he would then say, I'm saying this by experience because I have seen friends who have done that. And then when they were unable to pay the loan, the bank sold their house to recover the money. And they ended up without a house, right? And that is a very serious thing. When you don't have a house, what are you supposed to do, right? So those kind of things stayed with me, and what I realized was there are two ways to learn that lesson, no, darling. One way to learn the lesson is you mortgage your house, and you let's say you think there's a good business opportunity. You are very confident that you can recover your loan and save the house as well. So you go ahead and take a loan by mortgaging the house, and then something happened unexpected. Like COVID was unexpected, right? And the business couldn't flourish for whatever the reasons, and you couldn't pay the loan, and the bank, in order to recover the loan, then sells the house, right? And then I learned by experience that mortgaging your own house is not a good idea. So there's another way to learn that. That is to learn from somebody else's experience, right? So look, I'm not saying whether it is right or wrong to mortgage a house. All I'm saying is this is a lesson my dad learned by observing it happen to 2 or 3 of his friends. And then he therefore told us as children, right, no matter what the reasons, don't do that because inna hitinna tanak nathiwa. Okay. Another advice he gave us, me and my brother, was there are some loans where instead of mortgaging something, you can ask a friend or relative to be like the trustee, or it's something like this. That is, let's say recently you take a loan to start a business. Instead of mortgaging something, you ask me, can you sign for me? Which means if recently can't pay the loan, I commit to the bank that I'm going to pay the loan, right? So people do that, and there are also my dad saw examples where the person who signed on behalf of that other person getting into trouble. And the original person is like, oh, sorry, my business is not working, and just stops paying the loan. And then the bank comes in, කාගෙන්ද බෙල්ලෙන් අල්ලගන්නේ අර sign කරපු එක. යාළුවා තමයි අල්ලගන්නේ. Then that friend has to pay, right? So in my dad's case, then the friends were like, oh my God, this was not expected. I trusted this guy and he abused that trust. So the things like that. So those are two things he said he saw and he shared with us. And I could understand that those are two things I don't need to learn by experience. I can learn it by his experience. Okay. So the listening to your adults, listening to your elders is something like that, Putta, right? Because if everything we are trying to learn by experience, we'll be dead probably, right? There's just too much, not enough time, and some things are very dangerous, right? But instead, when you come to a certain age, you know that what they are saying makes sense. Not everything, Putta, right? Now, there's a generation gap also. So everything parents say 100% will not make sense. But a vast majority will. And you have to be wise and mature to understand that, right? So the Vajjayans were certainly doing the right thing. Now, this Vajjayans are mature people running a state. They are running a state and they supported, respected, and honored their elders and listened to their advice. I personally feel out of everything, I think this number 4 is one of the most important things, right? Especially when you're running a country, right? Listening to your elders and listening to their advice is, I think, a good thing, right? Also, it depends on who the elders are. You can't be just going and listening to, just because somebody's 70 years old, darling, doesn't mean they're going to talk sense. Okay. They may be a serial killer for all you know. So it has to be the right kind of people that you listen to. Okay. Then the 5th one, did not subject their women and girls to force and harassment. Now, this is a very important part. To understand the quality of that state. If there is a, what happened to the videos again? Hello? Thank you, Simon. Nisuli කොහෙද ගියේ? දිනුලි කොහෙද ගියේ? they are pops දිනුලි. Jack in the box වගේනේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ. There we go. Yeah, Manisha, Nisuli, everything. Minanga දැන් වැහලා ඉවරයි. Hello. Where is it raining now? කොහෙවත් වහින්නේ නැද්ද මොරටු පළාතේ? Miss Minanga, time to put your video on. All right. So did not subject their women and girls to force and harassment. This particular sentence, it talks about the value of a state, right? Any state that respects and protects women. It talks about, it says a lot about the rulers. Okay. So, and back then, and this is like what, 2,600 years ago, when Buddha is advising people who run a country, people who govern a country, he gives 7 points of advice. And imagine, 1 point is not subjecting women and girls to force and harassment. This is what makes the Buddha an amazing person, right? When you come to the Avasana exam, there are some absolutely fantastic books, and when you go through them, you'll realize what society was like back then. Women were like doormats. The Brahmin society thought women's brain was similar to goats and cows, right? And women had no place in society. But the Buddha, he said that when Ananda Thero asked, because Ananda Thero asked him, can a woman become an enlightened being? Buddha was like, of course a woman can become an enlightened being. And so Ananda Thero was like, are women as intelligent as men? And Buddha was like, of course women are as intelligent as men. In fact, some are even more intelligent than. right? Now, for you girls, now this might sound like, so what's the big deal? But Buddha 2600 years ago, saying such a thing itself was worthy of getting shot, I'm telling you. Right? This was groundbreaking, okay, because that was not the belief at the time. At the belief at the time was that women were, there was a caste system, and the women were lower than the lowest caste, women's place in society. Okay, so so Buddha is an amazing leader and an amazing person. So what is the relevance of this to a state? So one is 50% of the population is women. And if they are subject to force and harassment, Buddha, that is not, there is no freedom or justice or equality, or there is nothing in it, right? Because if 50% of the population does not have freedom or equal rights or justice, then you think the other 50% of the population will treat the male species equally. That is also not going to happen. What's going to happen is the people who are strong, the people who are powerful, the people who are wealthy are going to give the other people a very hard time, right? So society legally is allowing bullying, harassment, and all the various other things. Okay? So the way a society treats their women and girls is a good sign to decide how they are governing. So, you know, a lot of people make the mistake of wanting to leave this country, and I call it out as making a mistake because if they think that going somewhere else is going to be better, there is no such thing as better or worse. Every place has its own issues. Every place has its own advantages, right? But someday, if you are considering leaving the country, always one thing for you to look into is how are girls and women treated in that next place, right? So be very careful that because out of everything, no matter whatever said and done, in South Asia, Sri Lanka is one of the best places to live. It's one of the places where the culture gives such a great place for women and girls. And it's all thanks to the Buddha. It's the Buddhist influence where the Buddha said, Gedara Buddhu Namma. And he said it in a patriotic society where the leader of the family is the father. If he said Gedara Buddhun Tata, nobody would have had a problem with it. Right? He said Gedara Buddhu Namma. Why? Because the Buddha is supposed to be Mahakarunika. And he said the kind of love and compassion a mother has to his as to a children are only similar to what a Tathagata has. Of course, a Tathagata has for the entire world. Mother will only have that for her children. That's a bit of a narrowed, a bit of a selfish scope, but nevertheless, within that scope, the mother is like so generous, so willing to sacrifice comforts, pleasures, life. And you will be seeing with your own mothers. Mothers sacrifice their careers, they sacrifice everything for the sake of the children and the husband and the family's well-being. Right? So that is why, because the Buddha really valued love, kindness, generosity, and all of those things. And he saw all those qualities and traits in mothers, right? Anyway, coming back. Number 6 was supported, honored, and respected places of worship and continued their donations. Now, this is what makes Buddha a real hero, right? He never, there was never competition amongst other religions. There was never a need to convert, right? Because it was all about your free thinking. Buddhism is one religion that says, don't believe it because the Buddha says so. Don't believe because enlightened beings, Rahatan Vahanses say so. Don't believe because learned monks, educated Swamin Vahanses are saying so. Believe something only if it makes sense to you. Excuse me, kids, I have to take this call. Okay, give me a second. Let me post the. All right. So now one thing everybody valued about the Buddha was his what do you say, respect for other religions, right? So there was no so many religions try to convert people and grow their following, right? Here, for a person who let go of a kingdom, what is there to take joy in a following of a group of people who are renounced lay life, right? So there was really no target to grow the number of Sangha, Bhikkhu Bhikkhuni, or to grow the number of Upasak Upasika. His only intention was having experienced peace in a world that is going crazy because of misunderstanding the true nature of life. Buddha's only intention was to help people to get to that peace, right? So, and that is what he did. Wherever he felt somebody had the ability to understand, he went out of his way to help them to understand. But once they understood, there was nothing about you have to be a Buddhist, right? It didn't matter. And there are many examples where, so Pali Gruhapati is one example. So he was a devotee of another religion, and then he was totally inspired by the Buddha after hearing a sermon. So after the sermon, he comes and says, "Venerable Sir, I'm really impressed. I want to join your order as not as a bhikkhu, but as upasaka. I would like to be a Buddhist." And the Buddha said, "No, don't be so hasty about it. You are main what do you say දායකයෝ කියලා කියන්නේ පොතේ පන්සලේ ප්‍රධාන දායකයෙක්. වගේ එයාගේ ආගමේ he was a ප්‍රධාන දායක. You are one of the main supporters of your religion. Other people look up to you as a leader, as a supporter. And when you make such a decision, a person like you of your stature, where others look up to you, you have to make it with careful consideration. You have to think through, right? And really make sure that this is what you want to do." And then Upali says, "What you said now, that itself is enough for me to say that this is what I want." Because he said, if it was any other religion, they will come like some victory thing. They'll come with drums and flower garlands and say like, "Hey, guess what, people? Upari is now on our side, yay!" And they'll make a huge song and dance about it. There'll be a lot of fanfare, there'll be celebrations. And you are telling me, don't. Are you sure? Think about it. Right? That itself is enough to tell me that this is the right thing. So but the Buddha said, "Look, anyway, sleep over it. Okay, think about it." So Upali, out of respect, promises to think about it. And the next day he comes and says, "I have thought about it. I want to join, I want to be a Buddhist. I want to leave my religion and I want to join yours." Again, the Buddha said, "No, Upali, I want you to think a little bit more. You owe it to the people who look up to you." Because he was such an influential person in society, the Buddha was concerned that if he takes a hasty decision, it's not good. It's not good for Pali. It's not good for the religion that he was following, right? So the Buddha didn't want to hurt others in any way. So ඒ විදිහට තුන් සැරයක් කියලා අන්තිමේදී when Upali insisted, the Buddha said, "Okay, I will allow you to be a upasaka in this sasana, right? Bhikkhu, bhikkhuni, upasaka, upasikani sasana, under one condition. That is, you are one of the main supporters of that religion. When your support stops, it will be a big hit for those people, the ascetics of that religion. My request to you is to please continue doing whatever you did for them. Okay, so that's an extremely kind, compassionate, generous being. It's amazing. That is why Buddha is such a role model. Hi, Buddha.
Hi, teacher. I'm very sorry I came home just now. I went to Vision Care to get my lenses done.
Oh,
I'm very sorry.
Show us, show us. Did you get a nice fancy frame also done?
No, just the lens.
Just
So
the
it's
lens.
just the thing called me.
But is there some color like pink or purple in the lens?
No.
Why not? You should.
No, teacher, I went to odd place. The head office at Vision Care, so I got late to come home. Very sorry, teacher.
Don't worry, darling. Don't worry.
Please,
You
thank
wanna, okay, so Isini has a connectivity. So Isini, that's okay. You can turn the video off. And I have the others having their videos on, Nivecha included. Would be nice to see you guys. There we go. Jinuli from Mars. That red background reminds me of the red planet Mars. Jinuli is in Mars. Hey, Niveja. All right. Cool. Good to have you. How did this become a all-girl class? It's because the boys ran away to book 2, right? And Senod, the only boy who is doing book 3 is at a class, I think. Yeah, his class finishes at 9 and probably be 9:30 by the time he joins. All right, girls. So, so the Buddha said that in any state that needs to govern properly should support and honor and respect places of worship and continue their donations. All right. Now, this is such a contrast to if you think of countries like Indonesia, then where Buddhism was there before. Normal stance is opposing religion when people invade a country, they want to promote their religion. So what do? They first of all, they plunder, they break, they kill, and they kick out people, right? That is what is normally happening, and that's what happened to many of these countries where Buddhism spread. But Buddhism is all about, it's an intellectual thing, it's about understanding reality, and mainly it's about kindness, consideration, and compassion. So therefore, it is extremely disappointing when people do violent things and harmful things in the name of religion, right? That is absolutely against what the Buddha teach. Yeah. All right. So last one is provide protection, defense, and support to arahants who visit their region. So yes, make sure that, and then this is something all religions deserve, right? Because if you look at the clergy, the monks who join these religions, so they are joining for a purpose, right? To help society be a better place. Yeah, so of course we should respect them. So these are the 7 factors of welfare. So this is an exam question, children. Explain the 7 factors of welfare, satta, aprahani, dhamma, that were observed by the Vajjayans on the advice of the Buddha. So this is like these 7 statements are like the full answer. Now, when you're studying, sometimes it's easy to remember bullet points, right? So if you think of bullet points for study purpose, so met frequently, then this whole met, perform duties, dispersed, everything in unity, right? And this whole thing about laws, didn't bring new laws, didn't remove old laws, kind of thing. Then this whole respecting and listening to elders, respecting and protecting women and girls, respecting, protecting places of worship, and protecting and supporting arahants. So this is a good thing to remember, not just for exam purposes, but it's more for what makes a good governing system. So there were in various conversations with the Buddha, so especially when it was getting close to Buddha's parinirvana, Venerable Ananda would ask Buddha, now how can we worship you after you are gone, right? So so then the Buddha names 4 places that people can worship. What are the 4 places identified by the Buddha as places that could be venerated by devotees by visiting? So the Buddha's birthplace is one. The place of enlightenment. The place preaching the first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutra. And the place of parinirvana. Okay. So Vesak කියන එකෙන්ම 3ක් මතක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. Birthplace, right? So Vesak anyway celebrates 3 things, right? The birth, the enlightenment, and the parinirvana. So 3 of them are there. So other than the birth, enlightenment, and parinirvana, the first sermon is the other one that you need to remember, right? The place of the first sermon. දැන් ඉතින් අර elders දඹදිව යනවා කියලා යන්නේ පුතා ඒවා බලන්න තමයි. All right. Then what were identified by the Buddha as a teacher of the bhikkhus after the demise of the Buddha? Explain how the bhikkhus should observe this advice. Yes. So, so as the Buddha grew old, and there was another religion that was constantly in competition with Buddhism, and that was the Nigantanatha Buddha's Jaina religion. So Nigantanatha Buddha passed away before the Buddha, and after he passed away, his what they call the monks of that religion, they had disagreements about what Nigantanatha Buddha said and so on, and they broke into sectors. So having seen this, Venerable Ananda and another Venerable Thera, they were concerned and they were like, "Apatath okama veida danne." So they went and approached the Buddha and said, "Shouldn't you appoint a leader after you are gone?" So they probably thought Buddha will appoint Venerable Sariputta or Venerable, I don't know if Venerable Moggala had passed away. Probably he would have passed away by then. They would have probably thought it would be Venerable Sariputta or Venerable Mahakashyapa, right? But what the Buddha said was probably a surprise for them when he said that you don't need anyone. The Dhamma I preached, the Dhamma and the Vinaya will be your teacher, right? So the Buddha said, whatever the doctrine and discipline, Dhamma and the doctrine is Dhamma, discipline is Vinaya, has been preached by me, will be your teacher. So the Buddha advised that despite hearing from a secondary source, known as the 4 great sources, each person must test and clarify the authenticity of the Dhamma to oneself and accept only if she believes it is according to the Dhamma and Vinaya as preached by the Buddha. This is what I was telling before. What are these 4 great sources? Someone tells you that they heard it from the Buddha himself. Someone tells you that they heard it from the Sangha of a given monastery. Somebody says that they heard it from a bhikkhu of great learning and proficiency of Dhamma. Someone says that they heard it from an elderly bhikkhu of great learning and versed in teaching. So this is what I said before. So what the Buddha said was, at the time of the Buddha, somebody might say, you know, මේක මට බුදුහාමුදුරන්මයි කිව්වේ මට ඇහුණා මං එදා හිටියා එදා මේ ජේතවනාරාමේ I was listening to a sermon and the Buddha said it and they tell you something and the Buddha said no, don't believe it. First of all, you reason it out in your own mind. Does this make sense? Is this right? What do I know about the Dhamma and the Vinaya? Based on what I know, does this sound right? So you have to do your own reflection, right? Second, somebody might say, some monasteries are famous like Jethavanarama. And also then you think like anybody from Jethavanarama knows what they're talking about. Okay. So then somebody said, you know, that monk from who is in the Jethavanarama, he's the one who told me this. We're like, yeah, okay. But you need to ask yourself, is this right? Is this true? Does it make sense? Based on what I heard before and everything. Or somebody says they heard it from bhikkhus who are very educated and they are proficient, or they heard from an elderly bhikkhu, right? So it is all about you need to investigate it, and if you feel it is right, then only you should accept. So these are the 4 great sources. So always check and clarify against the Dhamma and Vinaya preached by the Buddha before accepting. Do not accept for the sake that you heard it from one of these sources. What were the last words of the Buddha? Explain their significance to bhikkhus and laymen. So the last words of the Buddha was, behold, disciples, I exhort you. All component things are subject to change. Strive on with diligence. So why is this important? Think about it like this, right? Imagine you are surrounded by your family and friends and you're about to pass away and you know it. You just have enough energy to just say 1 or 2 things, 1 or 2 words maximum, right? What would you say? What would you say? Nivedya, what would you say? අම්මිගෙන් ගිය සුමානේ ගත්තු කතුර මගේ අර ලාච්චුවේ කබඩ් එකේ ලාච්චු මම දෙන්න හිටියේ ඒක ගන්න. Or if you are my mom and I, when I was about 17 or 18 of year, we were the same size, so I would constantly take her shoes and her blouse and this and that, right? So I might say like, මගෙන් මං ගිය සුමානේ ගත්ත blouse එක අන්නයි කබඩ් එක. හොයන්න එපා න කබඩ් එක. Right? So you can say anything. Now, but if you are of the right mindset and all, you think of something important to tell. Now, if you are a teacher, where you are trying to teach people how to achieve peace and contentment, and if you're like the Buddha, for 45 years you have been saying this, and you want to make sure your last breath is also for this. The Buddha could have chosen anything to say, right? This is what he chose. So let's see why he chose them. And where are the videos? Of course, the Buddha didn't say where are the videos. I am asking where are the videos? Where are the videos? Where are the videos? Thank you. I see 1 video. Where are the other videos? Thank you. Come on, we can do a bit better. Misuli, Dinuli. Haha, there we are. Thank you. Where then, Nanika? Jack in the box again. No, no, no. Or catch me if you can. There's a movie or save again. Find me if you can, right? All right, coming back. Okay, so this is what the Buddha said. Behold, disciples, I exhort you. All component things are subject to change. Strive on with diligence. Siyalu sanskara anitya nopamawa virya vadanna. Right? So I used to think for a long time, I'm one of those crazy ones, right? I used to think honestly, like he could have said anything. Why did he say this? Right? So, and this was actually a question also. The significance was the sense of urgency. Throughout his 45 years of teaching the Dhamma, Buddha spoke about the 3 characteristics of existence, which is impermanence, dukkha, and non-self. Out of ignorance, we believe in me, myself. We get thoroughly attached to myself and the things we like, desire, craving. Due to the impermanent nature of things, we suffer terribly when we lose things we love, right? As well as when this myself undergoes change. We get old, we get sick, and things that we don't like happen to us, such as being scolded, insulted. We spend our entire life trying to keep myself and the things we love from changing. And eventually, from losing and damaging and dying. This craving keeps us tied to the cycle of birth and rebirth. Each birth We reap karmic results that take us to the next birth. Therefore, the Buddha saw the big risk in we all not doing the right thing at the right time, because we all have a great opportunity, right? We are born as humans, we have some sort of a brain to figure things out, and you don't need to be like super intelligent to figure this out. We have been born as humans, capable of understanding as the Dhamma in a time that the Dhamma is available. If we take heed and strive to understand the Dhamma, we have the opportunity and the potential to get enlightened. Yay, right? However, we can't be bothered. We want to have fun. We are lazy. We think we'll do it after we retire. After we retire, we think we'll do it later. And then, hey, guess what? That later never comes. And then voila, you are done with this life and you go to the next. And I'm sure that's what we have been doing, all this samsara, right? So that is why the Buddha said, everything is subject to change. See, the one problem is we don't see that, right? We think we know Anitya, but he's not referring to every 10 years when you look at your picture, you can see you have changed. That is not what he's referring to. There's a change that is happening right now, in this moment, right? In this moment, things are changing and we don't see that. In this moment, there's no control and we don't see that. If things are changing all the time and there's no control, how do we expect to find peace and comfort and happiness through that? So this is what he called Anitya Dukkha Anatta, right? He said, can you see this now? Yeah. To see this now, you'll realize that everything that you are thinking is permanent. It's not. Everything you think is happiness. It's not. Everything you think is myself. It's not. Yeah, it's the opposite. So he could see the danger, he could see the opportunity, he could see the potential, and most importantly, he could see that any one of us can do this, right? And we choose not to. So that is why with his last breath, he said, all component things are subject to change. Strive on with diligence. All right, so that is that lesson, okay? Personally, I like that lesson. It's an interesting lesson. Okay. So, I want to, so we'll be, when we do exam questions, all of this will get revised again and again, right? But remember these things as the stories that they are, and so on. So the next one is social ethics, and we did the Singalova Sutra, right? In this, there are two things that was left. Vyaggapajja Sutra and Parabhava Sutra. So these two sutras are short and sweet. Okay. So I like the Vyaggapajja Sutra because it was said to a business person. And the context was very interesting. Right. So once a businessman came and met the Buddha and said, Venerable Sir, you're always preaching about nirvana, enlightenment, the trilakshana, and Four Noble Truths. And honestly, I don't care, I'm not interested. Okay. I'm a businessman. I want to grow my business. I want to live a happy life. I want to have some fun. What would you tell a person like me? What would you advise? What would you advise for me to grow my business? That is what I'm interested in. Okay. Now, obviously, he didn't say it in this manner. I'm sure he said it in a much nicer manner than this. Okay, but nevertheless, he said something of that sort. So then the Buddha explained to him four things, right? He said, businessman, I'm glad you asked this question. There are four things that you need to do to grow your business. Uttana Sampada, Arakka Sampada, Kalyana Mitta, and Samajivikatva. Why I like this is, these four things not only will grow your business, it will help you as a student as well, into growing your wisdom and passing exams. It will help you one day in life to achieve your life ambitions. These are the four things that you need to do to achieve your life ambitions, to start a business and be successful, to do your studies well, for everything. Okay, what are these? Uttana Sampada means sustained efforts. This is the capacity to plan and organize one's trade or activities and continue until the results are achieved. All right, simple, isn't it? So you want to do the exam well, you want to go to university, you want this and you want that, and you want to one day travel the world, and all those things are possible. All you need is sustained efforts. In order to have sustained efforts, you need to first plan. Plan what you're going to do, organize your day, right? So let's say you want to do so many things, and then you plan to sleep till 12 noon every day. How is that going to help? Half the day is gone by the time you wake up. Okay, so how do you, okay, Nisuli is laughing. All right, Nisuli, yeah, wake up at 11:30. Okay, I'm not telling you to wake up at 5:30 in the morning. If you like to wake up at 12 noon, start by waking up at 11:30 first. Then bring it to 11, 10:30, 10. Okay, so basically you have to have a plan. What is your plan? In order to achieve your plan, how do you need to work, right? Nobody's telling you to study 24 hours. To achieve success, you need to have a balanced life. Some form of exercise, right? Sports or something is important. You need to associate some friends also. Some social activities are important. Not every day, okay? But it's important to, like Dhamma school is a social activity. Going to school is a social activity. It's really cool, right? You meet friends, you meet teachers, you get to chat and gossip and this and that, and it's fun, isn't it? Yeah. Then exercise is so important, at least 20 minutes of walking or something. Your kids should be running, forget walking. Walking is for people like us, right? We should be running and playing and rolling in the sand. Okay, maybe not roll, but you get the idea.
Oh, yeah.
Then healthy eating, like go ahead and eat all the junk foods, your pure parents. You know how expensive they are these days. But anyway, majority of the time you should be eating healthy. You should be eating healthy, right? And then sleep. Good 8 hours of sleep. Why? Because, hello, do you see what happens when you get to like 30 or something? You can't sleep, there's no time. Sleep when you can, okay? Go ahead and sleep, but sleep when you're supposed to. Like, for example, 10 in the night to 6 in the morning, 5:30. Usually, why 10 in the night? That's when you wake up, is it? So there are some nishachara beings. Those are beings that love to be up in the night. Okay. But humans were designed to rise with the sun, right, and sleep definitely during 10 to 5. Right. So there are some 5-6 hours where your brain really should be in a deep sleep. In order to get to that, if you start sleeping at about 10, probably by 11:30, 12, you'll be in a deep sleep. And that deep sleep will get sustained till about 4. And then when you wake up at 5, it's all good, right? If you do these 4 things, technically you should live a long and happy life. Like, look, I don't know if there's some karma that you'll end up under a bus and you'll be dead by 20 or something. Look, I don't know, right? But technically, this is a guaranteed way for a long, happy, healthy life. Yeah. So anyway, coming back to sustained effort. So determination and put in that effort until you achieve your result, right? So if you are keen, let's take something like let's say you are keen to be a doctor, right? And it's hard to get to medical college. Everybody knows that in any country in the world, right? So I know kids who tried once, twice, and third attempt got to medical college because they wanted to, not because their mom said, okay? Studying because your mom wants to or your dad wants to is a very bad idea. You should study because you want to, because you have some ambition in life and you have a plan, right? So, sustained effort, uttana sampada. So this is true whether it's a business, your education, sports, right? If you're doing sports and you want to play at a national level, you definitely need uttana sampada, sustained effort. Then Araka Sampada, protecting what you are now with effort, you are going to do stuff and you are going to get some outcome. Protecting it is Arakka Sampada. So let's look at it from a businessman's point of view first. This is the ability to protect one's assets, things you earned by doing things right. Protect one's justly earned assets from loss of fire, theft, flood, confiscating by state, right? So this is today. Of course, we take insurance to cover most of these things. But back then, Puta, they had to really protect things. And even now, I mean, just because you are taking insurance, you can't be stupid and like keep your car parked on top of a mountain where without any handbrakes, it will roll and fall into the lake, right? Even the insurance company will not pay you if you are being that silly. Okay. So we have to still protect the things we have earned. So keeping money and jewelry safe, and people like have CCTV cameras installed, and we try to avoid places that flood or landslides and stuff like that to build a house, right? So Araka Sampada is wherever you have put a lot of effort and with a lot of um, you have used righteous or justifiable ways to earn something, protecting it. So similar is your education, right? So things that you studied today, and for the next 1 month or 2 months, you don't refer to what you studied. You will lose it, right? And you will have to study it again from the beginning, from scratch. Hasn't that happened to you? Where you knew a part of a lesson so well, and then 3 months later you look at that, go, what? Like what? When did they even teach this? I haven't seen this before. And you had to put a lot of effort to learn it all over again, right? So Araka Sampada, how it applies for students is when you understand something, it goes into your short-term memory. Now, how do you get things in your short-term memory into your long-term memory? It's a simple, remember this brain is like a computer. There is a designed way to do stuff. So generally, whatever you learned and you understood in the first 24 hours, you have to revise it once. Just read through. Then it gets, whatever was in your short-term memory gets a bit strengthened. Then I think it goes like this, 24 hours, first week, and first month. So you look at something within the 24 hours, you just read through. And then you look at the same thing within a week, you again read through. And you look at it again within the first month of studying. And then it's a matter of just looking at it once a month or so, so that you maintain, right? But if you really understood something today and 6 months later you take your book out, you'll probably like, what on earth is this, right? So that is what this whole Arakka Sampada is. Mahansela Gattude Araksha. Kalyana Mitra, virtuous friends. Now that is a big one, right? So I was very lucky when I was doing O level, and when I was doing A level, I had 6 good friends. And now at school, and we are all turning 50. Isn't that really cool, right? And we are still very close. These were our school friends, and we are still very close. So these Kalyana Mitras, so we would encourage each other to study. So if somebody is being lazy, we will, really encourage the person to study. And because we really wanted each other to do really well, right? So we would applaud them when they are doing well. And when they are not doing well, we will help them to come back. So when they are falling by the way, we will make sure we carry them with us, right? We don't want them to fall behind because we believe they are talented. We wanted them to succeed and we love them. Okay. The Kalyana Mitras are people like that. So if they think that you are going the wrong way, they will tell you. And you might not like to hear it, but they will tell you because they love you, right? So having the right friends, now especially for a businessman, you have to be very careful who you're friends with. If you're friends with people who like to drink and gamble and do all sort of stuff that is wasting money, right? You can never be successful because the people around you will keep telling you, what is, you have to live life also. Of course, you have to live life, but not to the extent that they are saying. And the people who pretend to be Kalyana Mitras, who are really Papa Mitras, you just look at the people you consider friends and ask yourself, are they helping me do well in life, or are they pulling me back? Right? Simple question. Okay. And are you a Kalyana Mitra? I think that's the first question to ask. Am I helping my friends? Am I encouraging them? Right? So one thing I used to do is, even if I didn't study, I would encourage my friends to study. Right? I would tell them, you must study, and tell them various stuff. Right? Just because I wasn't studying, I won't tell them like, hey, chill out, guys, and all. Right? So that is what Kalyana Mitras are. This is a very important habit of associating with virtuous friends who practice devotion, morality, charity, and are with wisdom. Such friends will prevent you from doing illegal, bad, or stupid things, which will make you suffer in this birth as well as next birth. Close association with such good people help you to think good and be good. Right? The opposite is to associate friends who are so lazy, always indulging too much in food and drink and gambling and alcohol and misbehavior. Samajivikatva is balanced living, right? And this is something really amazing. This really tells you how you should spend, right? Because you are a businessman. So Uttana Sampada, so with sustained effort, you are now earning an income. Arakka Sampada, you know how to protect the income, right? Samajivikatva is about how you spend that income. This is about managing one's expenses within a framework of what one is earning. The Buddha advised simple, frugal living and not to overindulge in wasteful spending or being too stingy. Being stingy is also no good. Being overindulgent is also not going to help, right? So his advice was, whatever you earn, divided it into 4, right? So let's say you earn 100,000. I'm just making this up. So then divide it in 4 means 25,000. Okay. So 50,000 itself, you must invest back in the business. 50% you invest back, right? 1/4 you keep for savings, because you never know when an emergency comes. And the balance 1/4 is what you consume. And that is not just for you to eat and drink, it's also for your dana and everything, and for helping others, right? So who are the people you have to help? So your parents may need help, your brothers and sisters may need help, your Kalyana Mitras may need help. Okay. So that is the Vyaggapajja Sutra. Personally, I really love that. In fact, I love all these sutras. Singalavada Sutra is a classic. Vyaggapajja Sutra is beautiful. Let me tell you about the Parabhava Sutra. Okay. Parabhava Sutra means Pirihime Sutra. Like, these are the things, if you do these things, you will definitely, it will lead to your downfall. Anivaram Pirihana Deval. There are 12 things. Out of these 12, even one, if you are doing, you will spiral down into, it will lead to your downfall. Okay, what are these things? Lack of respect for Buddha Dhamma. Right? So you say, ඔය මොනවාද ඔය බොරු කතා ඔය පන්සිල් පද වැඩක් නෑ ඔය කර්මය කියලා දෙයක් නෑ. You know, so if you have seen, like, I mean, rarely you would see people like that. Okay, there's absolutely no way that they are going to be successful. On the contrary, there is going to be their downfall. Attachment to the vicious, disliking virtuous people, embracing beliefs of vicious. So you like wicked people, you like wicked beliefs, right? And therefore you hang out with them. Obviously, it's going to rub off you. Obviously, you are going to start doing things like them. And it's definitely a way for your downfall, right? So this is why you have to be careful with the friends you choose. So being lazy, drowsy, and displaying shortness of temper. Okay. So look, at your age, it's a bit normal to show laziness and sleepiness and all of that. But you also should know how to shake it off. Anything can be shaken off. You just stand up and just do it. Now the Nike slogan, just do it. There's no other way, right? So one way to just do it is to break it up into small pieces of actions and activities, so that, you know, you just keep moving from one thing to the other, right? Just do it. being rich and failing to support aging parents. Yeah, the Buddha said, no matter how successful you are, if you are rich and you don't support your aging parents, it will lead to your downfall because you will feel guilty in your mind and that guilt will come back and bite you. Okay? Deceiving one's religious mentors by falsehood, everything like the monk or the priest, you say lies about stuff and you pretend to be a very good person. Okay, this is in page 16. Being rich, enjoying luxuries selfishly by oneself only. So, look, I mean, if you are born and if you have therapy, which you have, you get a good education and then you start working. We all should help others. So, first of all, you should help your parents. Secondly, you should help your brothers and sisters. Thirdly, you should help your friends and neighbors and whatever, right? Helping others is such a joy. It brings you so much of joy and satisfaction. And where are the videos? Who is playing hide and seek again? Videos, please. Thank you. Can I see a few more videos? Police in the video. Thank you. Two more. Oh. Waiting for Alicia. Thank you. Nisuli koyada giye? Nisuli ke තාත්තට කියන්නේ. Nisuli, shall I call your dad? Nisuli's father, Nisuli ke තාත්තේ. मैं Nisuli hari. Okay. Being proud of one's wealth and clan and despising one's relatives. Okay, so, this can happen where, let's say you were very poor and then suddenly you strike rich. And then you are like ashamed of your relatives because they are poor. Yeah. Being a person of immoral character, which means like a drunkard, a gambler, or a wasteful person. Associating others' wives and immoral women. Yeah. Associating others and others' husbands and wives is not a good thing. Right? Being an aged person marrying a younger wife. You all remember that that Jataka story where elderly Bamuna was going with some Aggala and then he stopped near a tree for a rest and a snake went into the bag and then a tree deity said, if you go home, your wife will die. If you stay on the road, you will die. Do you remember the story? Yeah, we did it under perfections, right? So it was under the wisdom prajna perfection. You remember who solved the issue? Now the Bamuna got like totally upset, right? So he was like, oh my God, what am I supposed to do if I go home? Supposedly my wife is supposed to die. If I don't go home, I am supposed to die. This is ridiculous. Who is going to kill us? What's going to happen? And he was upset and then he happened to be in the vicinity of Vyaggapajja, who was the Bodhisattva, and then somebody took him to Vyaggapajja, and then he listened to this guy's story, and he thought, okay, so whatever this deity is trying to say is that there is some danger. So why would the wife die as he goes home? What will a wife do? මොනාද ගෙනාවේ කියලා බලන්න බෑග් එකකට අත දාන්න, right? If he doesn't go home and if he's continuing on his journey, what will happen? මගදී බඩගිනි වුණාම එයා බෑග් එකට අත දාන. එහෙනම් මේ බෑග් එකේ මොකක් හරි ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙනවා. එහෙමනම් so he questioned the Bamuna, what were you doing before this tree deity said this? He said, I ate some aggala under a tree and then I left my bag under the tree and I went to drink some water. So then Senaka Panitama thought, so then possibly a snake could have gone inside aggala වල සුවඳට. ඒක තමයි මේ බමුණට කියන්නේ මේ රිඩල් එක. My question is අයියෝ ඔක රිඩල් එකකින් කිව්වේ කොහොමත් මොන හරි කියනවනම් හරියට කියන්නකො ඕන බෑග් එකට නයි ගියා කියලා නේද? Anyway, so not my place to make such judgments. Anyway, so then Senakpani said, okay, leave your bag. And took a small stick and put it tattuවක් දාන්න කියලා යාට assistant කෙනෙක්. assistant පොඩි tattuවක් දානකොට මෙන්න ලොකු නායක ගාලා එළියට ගියා. Right? Then Senaka said, okay, so now that is solved. But where are you going? So then the Bamuna said, my wife told me to go for some errand. And then Senaka was like, really? So how often do you do this? And he was like, oh, my wife sends me on an errand once a week. And then he was like, so what is your wife like? And describe your wife to find. So this Bamuna is like, let's say 60 and the wife is 20. And wife is technically the age of his daughter, right? If he had a daughter. So then Zenak was like, you know what? I think she's fooling you. I think she's having an affair, and that's why she's sending you out every week so that she can meet her boyfriend. I'm pretty sure of it. Yeah. So that is what it said here. Being an aged person marrying a much younger wife, you're asking for trouble, right? You're definitely asking for trouble. Because the much younger wife is not marrying you out of love or anything. She's marrying you for your money. Okay, make no doubt about it. And that is what we see in society as well. Okay, placing in management position a wasteful man or woman. Oh yeah. Now, in the Buddha was one great person who always chose people for leadership positions based on their talent, not based on seniority, not based on friendship, right? But many a times people mistakenly give positions to friends or people they like and not for talent. And if a person who is wasteful is placed in such a position, that company can close very fast. Being a person of slender means nursing a high ambition and aspiring to a dominant position in society. Look, some of these things don't take it in the black and white manner that it is said, right? Because you'll be like, what on earth does that mean? Does it mean that you shouldn't strive to be in a higher position than you are? What it means is that sometimes you try to do things beyond your means, and you might try to fast track things, and you might cut corners, and all that is because you lack patience. Okay. Anyway, nowhere does anybody ask list all these 12. So generally the question is, here the question is also there, indicate 5 of the factors leading to a man's downfall as preached by the Buddha in the Parabhava Sutra. So imagine you say, the Buddha preached factors leading to a man's downfall. I am a woman, so therefore this doesn't apply to me. No, don't do that, okay? I'm just kidding, all right? That's a joke, people laugh. Oh God, time to stop the class, I think. Everybody's tired and sleepy or wanted to do something else. All right, so anyway, so usually the exam question is, name 5 of the factors leading to a man's downfall. So what are the easy ones to think of? Lack of respect for Buddha Dhamma. That's the easy one, right? Then being lazy, drowsy. That's what you all do all the time. Being rich and failing to support aging parents. Good for you kids to remember. Okay, one day when you're rich, support your parents. Okay. Then what else? Placing in management position a wasteful man or woman is also a good one. Being an aged person marrying a much younger wife is also a good one. What else? So, being a drunkard, gambler, wasteful person. All right. Okay. Let us then bring this session to an end. Okay. Now let us see what else is left, because we said let's do something on the 6th. So Ministry of Buddha Hari, last days of the Buddha, social ethics kara, Kamma Vipaka kara, 40 objects of meditation, fetters, There are a few other things. Okay, so what did we agree that day? We said on the 6th we'll do. Did we say face to face or did we say, what did we say? Did we say Zoom? Okay, I'm going to stop the recording. All right.